So how do we get there? Well, as usual, I'll give you the three methods. So from Zoho 1, if you're a Zoho 1 user, you'll see in your applications you've got Zoho Projects, which is the kind of graphic for it is the tick mark. So if that's enabled in your Zoho 1 panel, then when you go to the user home, you'll see Zoho Projects identified as an application in there. If you're in CRM Plus, then you'll see Zoho Projects on the side panel. And again, if it's not been enabled for you, then you'll need to speak to your administrator and they'll enable it for you. And finally, if it's a standalone project, then you would go to the URL, which we kind of know by now if you've been on one of our workouts before, is going to be the name of the tool and then zoho.eu or zoho.com, depending on which domain you're on. In this case, for this demo system, it's projects.zoho.com. And either way, from Zoho 1, CRM Plus, or from the direct route, it will take you into this screen, which is the Zoho Project screen. And we're going to start on the home page. So the home page is pretty much like any Zoho tool. It's a summary that's configurable to help you get an overview as to what might be happening for that day or that week or in the near future. And this screen is configurable to a certain extent. It's not quite as customizable as CRM with the analytics and dashboards that we get, but actually it's got some pretty salient information in here. So first things first, let's go across the top like we normally do. So from our home screen, we can hit the search key. And we've got our drop down here for all projects, active, archive projects. So when we've actually finished working on a project, we can archive it off. It's also going to look at our templates or the specific projects that we've created in this demo environment. Let's keep it at all projects. And I'm just going to go in here and type in the word start. And that will bring up any tasks that contain that keyword. So we've got start in here. We've got start in the details of this task. Let's change that to 1 hour workout. And you'll see that we've got a task list. We've got a project. It identifies what element it is when you do the search. So again, the search capability in Zoho is always a good place to start. And the whole system is fully indexed for you. So the search is easy. And it's in the same place as it normally would be for any other Zoho tool in the top right. The second one along I really like. So this is your timer feature. So if you're tracking time for clients, or you're tracking time as part of a project, then the tracking timer is a really useful place to do that. And it's very, very easy to use from this instance. So we simply click on the timer, and that will open up a running timer. And in here, we've now got a search for the task that we're going to match the time against. So again, let's type in our 1HW, our 1 hour workout. And it's brought up this task, send invites to 1 hour workout, which you'll see in my projects in a while. And here now we can click on the start, and that's going to start our timer running for the work on that project. So it saves us having to manually enter the time entries for each of the tasks that we're working on. I can now go into the task and start working on that task. And then when I've finished, I can either come in and press the stop timer, or if I just want to take a break from that task, then we can hit the pause and then hit the play button when we resume. And then when we've finished that particular task, or we finished it for the day, then we can click the stop. And that's going to automatically put in a timer has stopped with some notes, which we can amend. So we can put working on 1HW, and then keep in the timesheet log if we so want to, and whether it's billable or non-billable. So that's, again, more advanced features, but if it's going to be billable, we might be able to integrate it into Zoho Books to send the invoice directly to the client. But in this case, we'll keep it as default. And click on update. And so that's going to add the time entry against that task. So very simply, click the clock and start the timer. Very, very easy to use again. The third one along is our notifications, which if you're a regular Zoho user, you'll notice that every time that you're pinged or mentioned, then that will come up as a notification, as a red flag, and you'll be able to start to engage within that particular notification. And the setup screen, I'm going to click on here. If you're an admin user, there'll be lots of elements in here that you can go in and configure Zoho projects. But this particular 1 hour workout isn't about the administration, it's about the use and finding your way around. But there are some elements here. When you come into the setup, it will bring you into this profile page. where you're able to go in and change themes and do some fancy things around that area. So for instance, they've updated this a little bit. You've got some dark themes here, light themes, and then some image themes and even some artistic themes. So I'm going to choose the New York one and then update. And then we've got a different interface when I go out to the setup. We've got a nice Statue of Liberty thing here and some different colorations and so on. So you've got some ability to change the interface. That's for each user. That's not for the organization. So that would be a personal setting. And then over here, we've got the quick add. So whenever we click on the plus symbol, that's going to bring up a new task where we can then go in and select the project that we're working on. And here, I'm just going to go quick add. I need to do this today. And we're going to select the user as ourselves, as Michaela. And you'll see this in a little bit more detail. We're going to select the 15th. And it's going to be due on the 17th. And really, I'm just going to add that in now. So it's really one of those kind of to-do list type things where we can go in and quickly add something to do. So if we're on the phone or we're about to disappear from our desk, then a quick add is really useful. We don't have to go into the project, add the task, and so on. It's simply just that same principle as adding it to your notepad to-do list. And then finally, as we move across the top, you have your usual profile details here. And the key ones for me are looking at the help resources. So if you want to find out more about Zoho Projects, you'll find out more from there. And also, presumably, if we hit the YouTube channel, that will take us to the Zoho Projects YouTube channel, where you're going to find some more useful information in there. But most importantly, contact support, and that will allow you to raise a ticket directly from within Zoho Projects. Okay, so that's across the top, some really useful stuff there. Let's click on our home screen and come into the dashboard. Okay, so from here, you've got the opening summary, which is going to show you your tasks, the ones that are currently open and the ones that are closed. So we're in as Michaela here. We can see we've got open 11 tasks and closed 0. And issues which sit alongside a project. We're not going to really talk about these today, but these might be bugs that sit within certain tasks or deliverables. And rather than tasks, they're actually logged as issues within Zoho Projects. So it's two different types of elements that allow you to be tracked. And then milestones are a collection of tasks that have to be reached for a certain date. And again, I'm not going to cover this today. It's not about project management. It's more about just finding your way around. These widgets here now, so we've got my tasks, which is obviously going to be a key one. So they're the immediate tasks that are visible straight in front of you that are assigned to you. We've got timesheets, so those time entries that we created earlier using the clock, they're going to appear in the timesheets. And then when we submit a timesheet, they will appear in this view. You have some items that are due today. So the tasks, these ones are actually overdue because they're from an example project from a little while ago. But then if you have the tasks that are due today, then they're going to appear in this widget of due today. And then issues we talked about, they sit alongside the projects. And then we've got our overdue ones, late by 97 days, and our milestones, events, all of our tasks, which can be filtered to the same thing, due today and overdue, and then all issues. So for instance, if we're not covering issues within our Zoho projects, we might want to personalize this a little bit, this dashboard, to make it more relevant to our service. So in order to do that, we've got a couple of options. We might be able to go in there and just click the cross to say we're not interested in seeing issues. So let's click the cross on here and here. And we're also not worried about my events. So let's click the cross. And if we are worried about timesheets, but not as much as overdue work items, then we can click and drag these widgets so that eventually we can focus our home screen on the actual widgets that we want to see. To bring any of those back in, click on the 3 dots, and you'll see that it's very, very simply disabled. So the My Events, the All Issues, and My Issues, we can switch on and off. Or we can use the cross key. Okay, really simple stuff. And the portfolio side, this is where it extracts your information from the reports, which I'm going to cover briefly at the end of this session. It brings those out into what's called the portfolio view. And again, this will give you a full overview with a set of widgets, any Gantt charts, which I'm going to cover in the reporting side. So it's going to show you a visual representation of your tasks and projects that you're involved in. Project status report, ownership in terms of which projects are owned by who. And then we have a timeline of starting, running, and finishing, and groups which allow us to group projects together. Okay, so that's the home screen. And now what I'm going to do is move on to the feed. So this element now is all about the collaboration. So collaboration tools in Zoho Projects. So let's go on to the feed. And the feed, really, if you think of it like your social media feed, it's simply stuff that's going on right now in Zoho Projects. And so that feed will be constantly updated as your team adds tasks or updates tasks or adds comments to tasks and so on. You've also got the ability to go in there and share a quick thought. So let's do that for Michaela now. So thinking about adding a new project for client A and click on submit. So Michaela has posted this, and then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to respond to it from my guest profile. So you won't see this, but I've got a guest profile as well on my second user. So John has gone in and entered sounds like a plan. So really, it's just, again, think of it as your social media feed. It might be somewhere that you come to see exactly what's happening with the projects that you're involved in. So Michaela and John are immediately having a conversation just from the feed. It's really very simple in that way. Also, you've got the ability to see statuses only. So that one which Michaela has just posted, thinking about adding a new project for client A. This is a status update. And so you'll only see status updates when you actually go through here. You can see the one that I did earlier as well about how about a kitchen project, and John also responded to that. And then our activity stream, well, this shows a bit of a timeline. So we've got a task that's been added, which was our quick add demonstration, and then the task from earlier today for the preparation for this webinar. Okay, so feed, very, very simple. And here we can also select the project. So if we just want to look at certain projects, so let's look at Project X, then we can actually see just the tasks that have been created for Project X, which we're going to do the same for a new project. So these ones are, the feed is all, and the status is all about sort of quick discussion. If there's something that may require more discussion, then we can use the discuss feature, which used to be called forums in the previous version of Zoho Projects, but this one is now called discuss. And we can click on new conversation, and we can assign it to a project. So we're going to assign it to Project X, and this one might be around a particular install. So let's go with which version of Zoho. And then we can select the participants who want to be involved within this discussion of Project X. So let's involve John. And of course, if you've got a list of several users, then they will all appear here. But in this particular demo platform, we only have 2 users, Michaela and John. So let's add that as a discussion. So which version of Zoho? And then Michaela might go in and say, I think Zoho Projects on its own is good. So it opens it up like a chat screen, and again, I'm going to go into John's area and just respond to that. So John's now responded, which has opened up a kind of, an interface which is quite modern now. I think it's pretty much based on the on iPhone chat or iPhone messaging, but it seems to be the new way at which this messaging goes, which messaging platforms use. So what about CRM Plus? Maybe, but Zoho 1 is cool too. And of course, the messaging will continue between them. And let's do the normal messaging, so we can go in and put smiley face. and so on. So very, very easy and very simple to collaborate because it is all about messaging. You'll also notice as well that we've got the two strands going on. I started talking in the wrong strand actually. But you've got both strands going on. So if Michaela wants to add to this strand, talking here, and then also here. So you can have multi-stranded conversations going on with the with what we call the kind of swim lane view. So you've got multiple strands across your screen. So again, simplicity is the key with all of this. You know, it's a collaboration tool first and foremost, as well as managing your tasks and your own personal workload. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to move on to projects itself. We'll come back to reports and calendar towards the end of the 1 hour workout. I'm just going to take a drink and check if we have any Q&A at this stage about the navigation. Let's take a look. Okay, so let's start by creating a new project. So you can see here in this project list right now, we've got 3 projects. You always have the default Explore Zoho projects in there, which can give you some guidance as to what's available. It's quite a good template. And then 2 that I created earlier, Project X and Project Y. So to create a new project, click on New Project, and that will bring up this simple interface. Again, as the administrator, you've got the ability to customize these layouts, but in the case of getting started, we're just going to stick to the simple elements. So with this one, we're going to call it 1 hour workout, Zoho Projects, and the owner is me, Michaela. And template, as I say, we can go in and select a different template should we want to, but in this case, we're going to stick with the default. The start date is going to be today, and the end date is the 30th. So we've got a fairly short 2-week window for this project. And then this element here, make this a strict project. You would tick this if it absolutely has to be delivered on the 30th. So in other words, the issues, the milestones, the tasks cannot go outside of those scheduled dates. Sometimes it's appropriate, most of the time it probably isn't. You know, projects do shift and change. And the project overview, so this one is going to be delivery of Zoho Projects 1 hour workout. And we're going to use a standard layout. Again, I've not changed any of this. We're not using groups at this stage. We can tag it, so we can tag them, create a new tag of 1 hour workout, and that's going to tag it nicely so we can do some segmentation. Roll up is an advanced feature, so I'm not going to cover that in today's webinar. And then customize the tabs for this project. So again, you can leave this as default. The dashboard and tasks will always be available. But then you might decide that you don't actually want the finance section, so you can uncheck that. You might not need expenses, but you might need forums, for instance. You know, these elements are configurable. So tick the ones that you want and uncheck the ones that you don't. And then project access, private means that it can only be accessed by the users that you assign. And public means that it will be accessed by all the users in projects, but also you can open up projects to your external users as well, which may be clients. So if you're involved in a particularly large project and you want clients to have certain access to that project so that they can track updates and also collaborate in the way that you've just seen, then it's a really useful tool for opening up your projects to your clients, and that works really effectively in some cases. Once you've completed that section, click on Add, and that will create the project and bring you into this screen here. So the first thing that we need to do is to start to add the tasks. So you can do this manually. Well, there's kind of 4 options here. I'm just going to talk about a couple of them. So we can add a task, and that will bring up again a very simple interface. So our first task in creating a 1 hour workout is to send invites to 1 hour workout attendees. And then add a bit of a description. So create campaign in Zoho Campaigns and send to attendee list. Okay, so you know, again, you'll notice from previous 1 hour workouts, if you attended before, always try and add direction to our tasks. So you'll notice just naturally I always start tasks with a verb, so send and create, and that helps drive the activity. And then our task list, well, we can choose the task list that we want to put it against. In this case, it's just our internal general one. If we've got any attachments, then we've got the ability to add attachments. So I'm just going to get a little screen grab here. And then if we've got any documents or files that we want to bring in, we can click here to upload. That's going to bring in my upload interface and open, and then we can attach. And you'll also notice as well that we can use our cloud storage. So if we click on Work Drive, then that's going to bring up our Work Drive elements where we've got the folders, the presentations for the 1 hour workouts here. So again, very flexible with the cloud storage. With our teams, we can select teams if we've got those associated. That's not Microsoft Teams, that's the teams in Zoho Projects that might be aligned to each other. But in this case, it's individual users. So I'm going to choose myself, Michaela, and we're going to choose that it's done via the day. So how many work hours she can assign to this. And then we're going to start it. And this is quite interesting now. So Zoho Projects is pretty smart in that it's showing the 14th and 15th as over allocated. And that's because she's already got 2 tasks. So this is in relation to those work hours. So it's already got 2 tasks assigned to Michaela. But on the 16th, 17th, 18th, and 19th, she's got 1 task, so she's under allocated or optimally allocated. And then further on down the line, you can see that she hasn't got any tasks associated with it. So when you're choosing your team members, Zoho Projects gives you an immediate visual on who's potentially the busiest and who's not got so much work on. So in this case, we're going to give this task to Michaela on the 20th of June. And it's going to be due on the 20th of June. It's a short task, so it's a one-day task. You've also got the ability there to enter the duration. So if you just want it to be 1 day, then you can change the duration or the end date. You've got both options. Priority is high. And again, we can use our tags for tasks. So let's tag this with 1 hour workout. And we can send reminders and recurrences in the same way that you can with Outlook tasks. And we can change it from billable to non-billable in this instance as well. And click on Add. So now we've added our first task. It will bring us into this interface, which we're going to revisit in a second. But you can see that the task has been listed now in this classic view. So we get a good overview of send invites, who's associated, the owner, status, tags, etc. And this can be tailored using these column views here. So if I customize the column, you can see that we're not using associated team. So we're going to uncheck that. And let's also uncheck our difference, for instance, and then we can save that. And you'll see that our associated one that we wasn't using has now disappeared from this view. So it's very configurable in terms of what we can see or do. We can also amend it from this point as well. So let's say that Michaela isn't available that day. So we can now go in and change it to John and swap in Michaela. You'll also notice at this point as well, which has been an addition to Zoho Projects, is that sometimes tasks have multiple owners. So in this case, if both were working on it, we could select John and Michaela, who are responsible for that task. The status is open, and if we drop down, we can change it into in review or into another status, and then we notice our tag and also our start and due date. So if the due date changes, it's very easy to change from this interface. We can change it to the 22nd and the duration's changed and so on. So this way of managing tasks is very simple. This is all about keeping it simple. Now what I want to do in this case is, because our 1 hour workouts is a good example, it's a weekly or a regular, not weekly, it's a regular set of tasks that need to be completed by either Duncan or I. So in this case, we wouldn't go through and do send invites and then all the other tasks right through to delivery of the webinar. What we use is a task list. So let me just talk about that. We've got add task list here. And if I select add task list, we've now got the ability to select from templates. So I can select from templates, and you'll see that the templates that we have available in this drop down, there's only one available. That's because I've only configured one, and that's called 1 hour workout. So when we've got a repeated set of tasks, we've created a template called 1 hour workout. We're going to leave these set as the default. Again, I can use my 1 hour workout tag if I want to. And the shift date is the actual start date of these tasks. And when we create a template, when we create a task list from a template, we've got the ability to add durations to those, and I'll show you that in a second. Now, when I click on Add, it gives us a little warning to say that start and ends may shift depending on what tasks are in the task list. Let's click on OK, and you can see now the send invites that we created manually is actually here, send initial invite. And then we've got each of the tasks that are required for delivery of a 1 hour workout. So now we can go in and assign these. So if we actually choose this one, this one, this one, and this one, and we're going to set the owner to Michaela, and then we're going to share the load. So here, 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 and here, the owner is going to be John, and submit. So now you can very, very simply see that we've created a project from a task list, which is a defined set of tasks. We've automatically assigned it, and they're now all open. And you'll also notice that the days, so the first one to send the initial invite is day 0, and then send the invite to the unopened is 2 days later. And then 1 day after that, we prepare the content, set the polls, and deliver the webinar. Then 1 day after that, we follow up on the Q&A. Then we follow up with the recording, and then we publish. So you can see the durations clearly defined in here. Okay, now let's move over to a different view in this task list. So we've created our task list, we've assigned the users. Now let's go in and change this element here. So this is what we call our classic view, which shows our task list and the tasks underneath it, and detailed in a linear list. If we change it to a plain view, this view can give us some actual real quick editing elements that we've just seen. So for instance, again, it's just a simple case of selecting these 3 and then changing the status to be tested, and that will instantly change the status. So it's very, very simple to go in and edit this. Now, the most interesting view is our Kanban view, which will give us our Kanbans. And of course, we've got our capability to drag and drop between the projects. So we're going to move this one to on hold, and we're going to move this over here, and we're going to click on it, and it will open up the task interface. So the Kanban view is often the most useful view in terms of managing the project. So the idea is that we're moving from left-hand side through to right-hand side. And Zoho Projects is actually one of the best Kanbans. It's really easy to use and very, very free-flowing. You'll also notice the one that I added the picture attachment to, the task, has got that picture attachment visible in the Kanban. So let me just show you that, because that's really useful when you're actually creating complex projects. So I'm going to take a screen grab of this particular screen. And then in this task, I'm going to go in now, and under the comments, I'm going to actually attach this image and add the comment. And now when we look at the Kanban view, and just refresh it. Sorry, let me just do that again. I'm going to add it in as an attachment rather than paste it into the comments. So attach files. And I'm going to attach that this time and add the comment. Oh, it's the file. Okay, and now it should display it in the Kanban. Let me just have a look at that. I will do in a second in here when we come back, and that will be parsed, and similar to this, we'll be able to see the image in there, which is always really good when it's a PDF or an image file. You get an immediate view of it. Okay, so that's the Kanban view. Very, very simple, very easy to use. So let's go back to our dashboard and bring in our interface. You saw that little flick actually. That just allows us to bring up our navigation panel and so on. We're going to go back to our project X, no, project Y. Okay, so the navigation there, sorry, you'll see that I was flicking between our projects, the two test ones that I'd done earlier, and then back to our Zoho projects. Okay, so now let's just take a look at the internal workings of a task. So we're going to go to send initial invite, which is currently in progress. And in here now, it's brought up the task management element. So let's have a look at some of the capability that we've got in here. So again, the first thing you'll notice that the start timer is there. So now we're working on this task. We're actually doing the deliverable for it. And at the same time, we can go in and start adding our comments or documents or whatever it is that we're doing. And when we stop the timer, that's going to create the note. I'm going to update it. And you'll see that the log hours, it will now be displayed in this log hours section. So all of the time that's associated with a task will be in here under log hours. And if we need to do it manually, we can go in and add time log. And let's go with it today. Set start and end time. So we're going to start at 10 a.m. and we're going to work through till 11 a.m. on this task and add. And there you can see that that one is actually displaying 1 hour rather than 0 because it's just a start-stop timer of a few seconds. So in here now we've got our comments. I'm just going to run through these briefly. And at this point we can use our @ symbols again for more collaboration. John, can you help with this task? And add the comment. And also the capability for rich text as well, should you want it. So we've got the capability to change and make something a little more prominent should we want to, and so on. Simple stuff. If we want to add subtasks, so we can put in a subtask for this. So this is going to be subtask A. Small task associated with invite. And we might have a different user on it. So we're going to set John and start date. We can see his allocation. So he's going to be the 23rd when he's not so busy. And we can add the subtask. So now within that task, we've got send the initial invite, but we've also brought in John and maybe some other team members to help us out with that task. Across here, we've got the ability to add documents, so things like specification documents and so on. We can go and add those in. And they're in a contextual place then. So like everything with our Zoho systems, we don't have a kind of, a full shared folder where we have to venture into. The document is actually stored right there within the task. So if you need to refer to a document for that task or for that project, then you know exactly where to find it. And clicking on the forums, if we click on associate forums, then we can choose our category and then the title, and there's no forum posts in this case, but if we wanted to, we could go in and create forums in the same way that we did with the discussion boards. And the dependency, well, this is on the Gantt chart, which I'm going to show you in a second. So if this task was dependent on another task being completed, then we can set a dependency, and I'm going to show you that on the Gantt charts in a second. And the status timeline, this will show us when it's moved from stage to stage. So if it's gone from open to in progress, that was within 2 minutes and 8 seconds of being created. And then when it moves over again, so let's demonstrate that. We'll change this to on hold. And then when we go to the status timeline, that's going to show us the status of open to progress 2 minutes and then progress to on hold of 6 minutes. Of course, under normal circumstances, these might be a number of days instead of a few minutes. The issues we talked about, so we can associate issues, but we're not covering that in this 1 hour workout. And then the activity will be the full timeline and audit trail associated with that task. Okay, welcome back. And to access the reports, very, very simply, again, we're going to click on reports. And that's going to bring up our report options. So the reports that are built into Zoho Projects are project specific. Again, if you want to do more complex reports, then we can use Zoho Analytics, which will export all of the data out of projects and put it into Analytics, which is completely flexible in terms of report writing. So in this case, we're only going to talk about the specific Zoho Projects reports. First one being Gantt chart, which our seasons project managers will know all about Gantt charts and how they work and what they can do for you in terms of visualizing a project. So we can see the let's go to all tasks rather than my open. So that was the my open will typically be Michaela's tasks, but we're going to look at it as all tasks. And then we can see the Gantt chart appearing now. So for our Project X, our 1 hour workout one, and also for our Zoho Projects one, which we looked at earlier. So with our Zoho Projects one, the Gantt chart is going to allow us to set some dependencies. So the send initial invite and send invite to unopened. So that's typically what we do. You'll notice that you get one email on a Thursday inviting you to the 1 hour workout on a Tuesday. And then on a Monday morning, if you haven't opened that email, then we send out the invite to the people who haven't opened it. And that typically works in terms of communicating it without hassling people too much. So the send invite initial and send invite to unopened are dependent on each other. So for this one, send invite to unopened, we need to go in here and we need to set a predecessor. So we can see that it says predecessor, and we can add predecessor. And then when we go in and search, it will pick out the send initial invite. So let's click that and click set dependency. And you'll now notice that this one is dependent on that. So if we extend the timeline for this one, if we extend the timeline for this one, just bear with me, something not quite right there. I'm going to, that's on Project X, that's why. I just want to break that. So we can click on break. And then I'm going to open this up again and just try again. So it's, sorry, it was wrong project. Select Zoho Projects. And then we're going to go with send, sorry, excuse me. Sorry, excuse me on this one. Z1. Right, let me try again. So I'm going to set a predecessor for this one, which is going to be 1HW Zoho Projects. And the task name is going to be send initial invites. So there we go. We've now got a set dependency here. So this task, that's why I got it confused with this in the general one as well. So apologies for that. I've got some configuration issues going on. But we've got the send invites to one hour workout attendees, which is dependent. This has to happen in order for this to start. So we can now let's extend this out a little, just so we can see it a little bit more. And when we extend this one, you'll see that that pushes this task automatically out. So if we bring this forward, then it will also bring this element forward. So this is really standard, but very powerful project management tools. If this task extends, then this task starting is dependent on this one. So likewise, if this task needs to be pushed out to here, then the dependency moves across and so on. So Gantt charts are a really easy way of managing it, and the visual element in Zoho Projects is pretty useful for the configuration. Okay, sorry about the errors there, but hopefully you get the idea of setting dependencies. I just want to show you set a successor as well. So let's see if we can do this one. So a successor is one that comes afterwards. So we're going to set a successor for deliver webinar. It's going to be in this one, and it's going to be follow up. So that one comes afterwards, and set the dependency, and that one worked perfectly that time. So now we're going to extend that out and move this one, extending it out, and you'll see the dependency shifts and so on. And if we actually move the whole task out to here, then the dependency moves out as well. So visually, it really works in terms of Gantt management, which is pretty good achievement in terms of the tool that you're using. It's a pretty good cloud tool for that. Okay, let's just take a quick look at some of the others just before we finish up. So resource utilization. So here I put in for March, we can see that John has got 2 tasks and Michaela has got 6 tasks. So you can see the utilization. And if we actually extend this out, you can see the tasks that are occurring. Excuse me a second. Sorry about that. So if we extend the drop down out, you'll be able to see the tasks that are causing this over allocation. And in John's case, we can see that it needs a few more tasks assigning to him. Let's go in and change the dates to the ones that we've just created. So if we go to June 2021 and click OK, then you'll see the 10 tasks now for John that we've been creating for the 1-hour workouts. So he's currently under allocated for this month, and as is Michaela as well. She's currently got some capacity. So this is really useful when you're looking at your team as a whole. So if you've got many team members and you're not sure who can be assigned a task, then in this case, you'll see that John and Michaela can both take on a little extra work, but you may have people in the red who just have too much on and aren't able to take on any extra work. So resource utilization is really handy for that. The plan versus actual, I'm not going to cover. It's a little bit advanced in terms of time management, but ultimately, because I've not got the time entries, I can't show you it properly. So with the time entries going in here, that will allow you to track the time against a project and see whether you're actually on budget. So in other words, when you've got the people logging all of their time, it will show you, as you can see here with this small example, that we haven't got any actual budget plan. So if we had 1 minute and 2 seconds planned, then the difference would be 0 and it would be perfect. But because we've not got anything planned, we're actually over by 1 minute and 2 seconds. So plan versus actual allows you to do some planning against the work hours that you've planned in your projects. And then finally, I'm just going to cover on project reports, which will give you a bit of an overview. So in here, you can see the project owners. We can see the status as a breakdown. So we've got 4 active projects. If we were using groups, then they will appear here. And also we can do owner-wise project status. So we can see Michaela owns 1, projects itself on the other, on our groups, and our custom one. So we've got ability to customize here by owner, group name, status, for instance. Let's do status and owner and apply. And that will show us Michaela and Zoho Projects. So we've got some customization elements. But again, if you need to do more in terms of reports, then we can always link it up to Zoho Analytics. Okay, so hopefully that gives you an idea or a little rundown. So certainly in terms of creating tasks and managing task lists in Zoho Projects, but certainly give you an idea of navigation and throughout. So we've covered today. We've done a bit of a warm up. We've found out how to navigate your way around Zoho Projects, including the standard top bars and the sidebars. We've done some collaboration with the discussion boards and also the online chat. We've added our first project and some tasks and delved into a little deeper about how we do task management, things like time entries and adding documentation, and then briefly looked at our reports on managing and viewing progress. So hopefully that's been useful for you today. It's a pretty new product that we help and support, but we're there to help you get started with it as always. So if you do have any upcoming questions, just let us know. Just for next week, we have a bit of a special webinar coming up. So we're getting a lot of inquiries about integrating voice over IP into Zoho CRM. And as such, we're partnered with RingCentral to help our clients get configured with that. And so next week, we'll be doing a full setup of Zoho with RingCentral, and RingCentral will be on board to support us and help with that call. So we'll be sending the invites out for that shortly this week. So finally, let me just have a look at the Q&A. So is there an area where I could see the team's upcoming and overdue tasks? So let's just take a look at that. So for the team in the report, if we go to our task reports, then in here you've got all tasks, and we can go and say all overdue and open, and that will open it up as a view in that case. But if you want to see them as a list, then we can go to tasks, which will give us all of the tasks. So here you can click on all tasks. And then go to the classic or plain view. And then the overdue ones, so upcoming would be the highlighting, let's say, in black. The overdue tasks are red, so you can see these ones here that were due way back in March, they're all overdue. Now, if you want to split it down by owner, then we can start to filter this report as well. So click on filter, and then you can choose the owner. And let's say it's Michaela, and find. And then it's going to show us her overdue tasks. Or we might change it to teams as well. So if you're using teams, then we can go to teams and choose the team that have got overdue tasks as well. And then also start date is till yesterday would be overdue. So this view here allows you to create very, very straightforward reports in terms of monitoring what's overdue and what's coming up, and then go in and start to collaborate them on. So you know, this one which is overdue, you can go in and in comments, I would here go, hi Michaela, status update please, and add the comment. Very, very simple. Michaela gets a notification on the overdue task, and then she can come in and let you know what's happening with that. Okay, hopefully that answers that question. So thank you. Before we just disappear, you're always welcome to send requests as clients to support@targetcloud.co.uk. You can schedule a deeper one-to-one on this with Duncan. Always happy to receive our reviews on our training, and of course you can follow us on LinkedIn. And again, do remember that all of the recordings will be available in the portal. So this one will be available towards the end of the week for you, so you can revisit it at any time. So on that note, thank you very much for attending today. Hope you've enjoyed it, and we'll see you again next week for the Ring Central one. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.